The year is 2013. A young man sits in a small screening room in Hollywood. The film playing in front of him is about a real person, a 22-year-old black man named Oscar Grant, who was shot and killed by a transit police officer on New Year's Day 2009 in Oakland, California. The director, Ryan Coogler, is 26 years old. This is his first feature film. The budget is tiny. The subject matter is explosive. The studios are nervous. And the young man watching that footage is about to make a decision that will define his entire career. He could say no. He could protect himself. He could wait for something safer, something bigger, something with a studio guarantee behind it. But here is what nobody expected. He said yes immediately, without hesitation. His name is Michael B. Jordan, and that single decision, to play Oscar Grant in a film called Fruitvale Station, would not just change his career, it would change what Hollywood believed was possible for a young black actor in America. But the road that led him to that screening room was longer and harder than anyone knew. Stay with me. Let us go back to 2012. Michael B. Jordan was 25 years old and genuinely stuck. Not struggling in the way most people think of struggling. He was working. He had been working since he was a child. He had appeared on some of the most critically acclaimed television shows in American history. The Wire, Friday Night Lights, two of the greatest TV dramas ever made, and he had been remarkable in both of them. But here is the brutal truth about television success in the early 2010s. It did not automatically translate to film stardom, especially not for young black actors. Hollywood had a formula, and that formula had very specific ideas about who got to be a leading man in major motion pictures. Michael B. Jordan did not fit the boxes Hollywood kept trying to put him in. He was too young for some roles, too serious for others, too intense for the light commercial fare studios kept offering. And the real problem was something else entirely. He had done everything right. He had the credits. He had the critical praise. He had the talent that anyone who watched him on screen could see immediately. But Hollywood kept telling the story was 25 years old and running out of patience. And this is where everything almost collapsed, because the next extremely high, so enter launch him into the different stratosphere entirely. Or confirm if they about to play Peter being whispering about his ability to carelessly harm while frame. Well, those fellows, I were killed too, or you Newark, New Jersey, February 9th, 1987. Michael Bakari Jordan is born to Michael A. Jordan, a caterer, and Donna Davis, a high school counselor. Newark in the late 1980s is not an easy place. The city carries the weight of decades of economic decline, urban poverty, and social fracture. But the Jordan family is tight, loving, focused. They move to New York City when Michael is young, then eventually settle in New Jersey. His mother works in schools. His father works hard. Both of them believe completely in their son. Michael begins modeling as a child. Commercials, print work. The kind of early exposure that teaches a young person how to inhabit space in front of a camera without self-consciousness. Then comes acting. He lands small roles on television. Cosby, The Sopranos, a single episode that most people do not know about, Law and Order. But it is The Wire that changes everything. In 2002, at age 15, Michael B. Jordan joins the cast of David Simon's brutal, beautiful Portrait of Baltimore, playing Wallace, a young drug dealer whose conscience makes him dangerous in a world that does not tolerate conscience. His storyline ends in a way that devastates audiences. But what it demonstrates, to anyone paying attention, is that this teenager from Newark has something that cannot be taught. He makes you feel the weight of a life in every single scene. Friday Night Lights follows. He plays Vince Howard, a young quarterback navigating football, family, and survival in a small Texas town. For 2 seasons, he is extraordinary. 2 legendary shows, 2 iconic performances, and still, Hollywood did not fully open the door. The real problem was something the industry would not say out loud. Here is what nobody in Hollywood was saying directly, but everyone was communicating through action. Young black actors, no matter how talented, faced a ceiling that their white counterparts simply did not encounter in the same way. The leading man roles, the franchise anchors, the films built around a single magnetic presence, those were not being offered to Michael B. Jordan. He watched peers navigate the same invisible wall. He made Chronicle in 2012, a found-footage superhero film that performed reasonably well but did not establish him as a solo draw. He did television movies, guest appearances, work that kept him visible but did not move the needle in the direction he needed it to move. The whisper around Hollywood was polite but damaging. Can he carry a film alone? That question, unasked openly, answered negatively by studio behavior, was the wall between where Michael B. Jordan was and where he needed to be. And then Ryan Coogler called. Ryan Coogler was a film school graduate with a script based on the last day of Oscar Grant's life. Oscar Grant was a 22-year-old black man from the Bay Area. On January 1, 2009, in the early hours of New Year's morning, he was shot in the back by a BART transit officer at Fruitvale Station in Oakland. He died hours later. The story was real. The pain was real. The stakes, artistic and political and human, were enormous. Coogler wanted Michael B. Jordan. Jordan read the script and understood immediately what it required. Not just acting, not just performance technique. It required him to carry the full weight of a real human life. A man with a daughter, a girlfriend, a mother who loved him, flaws and dreams and ordinary Tuesday afternoons, and make an audience feel that weight so completely that when the ending came it would be unbearable. He did exactly that. Fruitvale Station premieres at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2013. It wins the Grand Jury Prize. It wins the Audience Award, both prizes, simultaneously, at Sundance. That had happened only once before in the festival's history. The standing ovations are long. The tears in the audience are real. Critics use words like devastating and essential and necessary. And Michael B. Jordan, 25 years old, from Newark, New Jersey, walks out of Sundance as one of the most talked about actors in American cinema. But what happened next shocked Hollywood in a completely different way. Ryan Coogler was not finished with Michael B. Jordan. In 2015, he came back with another script. This one was about Adonis Creed, the son of Apollo Creed, the legendary fighter from the Rocky universe. A young man fighting to step out of his famous father's shadow and prove that his success belongs to him alone. The Rocky franchise had been running since 1976. Sylvester Stallone had owned it completely for nearly 4 decades. Now a 28-year-old black director and a 28-year-old black actor were being trusted to carry it forward. Michael B. Jordan trained like a professional boxer for months. He transformed his body completely. He worked with real fighters, He understood that the physical authenticity had to be absolute, because audiences would know immediately if it was not. But here is what made Creed transcendent. The physical transformation was the least important thing Michael B. Jordan brought to that film. What he brought was the emotional architecture of a man who has spent his entire life trying to prove something to a father he never knew, and to himself. The rage, the hunger, the tenderness, the fear beneath the aggression. Creed opens in November 2015. It makes over $100 million worldwide. Critics call it one of the best sports films ever made. Sylvester Stallone receives an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, his first Oscar recognition since the original Rocky in 1977. And Michael B. Jordan, once again, no nomination. Once again, the performance that anchored the entire film goes unrecognized by the Academy. Once again, the conversation about what the Oscars choose to see and choose to ignore grows louder. But this time something is different. The audience has already decided. Michael B. Jordan is a star. Ryan Coogler, for the third time, comes to Michael B. Jordan with a role. This time the scale is incomprehensible. Black Panther, Marvel Studios. One of the most anticipated films in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the role is not the hero. The role is the villain, Erik Killmonger, a man raised in Oakland after his father was killed in Wakanda, who grew up in poverty while sitting on a legacy of unimaginable wealth and power, who channeled decades of legitimate grievance into a vision of violent revolution. Here is what made Killmonger different from every other Marvel villain. He was not wrong. Not entirely. His methods were unacceptable. But his anger, the anger of a child abandoned by a world of privilege that should have protected him, was real and justified and deeply American. Michael B. Jordan understood that completely. He did not play Killmonger as a villain. He played him as the hero of his own story, a man whose tragedy was that his pain was real, but his solution was catastrophic. Black Panther opens in February 2018. It makes $1.3 billion worldwide. It becomes a cultural phenomenon unlike anything Hollywood had produced in decades. And Killmonger, Erik Killmonger, is widely called the greatest villain in Marvel history. Michael B. Jordan is now, without any qualification or asterisk, one of the biggest stars on the planet. But what happened next shocked even the people closest to him. Michael B. Jordan did not just keep acting. He built a production company, Outlier Society Productions, with a specific and radical mission statement: inclusion riders in every project he produces, meaning every film or television show his company makes must have diversity requirements built into the contract. Behind the camera, in front of the camera, in the writing room, he used his platform not just to make money, but to structurally change the industry that had once kept him at arm's length. He directed Creed III in 2023, his directorial debut. The film makes over $275 million worldwide. Critics praise his visual instincts and his ability to draw performances from his cast. He is now an actor, director, producer, and industry reformer simultaneously. At 36 years old. Here is the truth about Michael B. Jordan that Hollywood spent too long refusing to see. The wall they put in front of him was real. The ceiling was real. The quiet industry assumption that a young black man from Newark could be remarkable in supporting roles on prestige television, but could not anchor major films alone. That assumption was real, and it was wrong, and he proved it wrong systematically and completely. Every role was an argument. Wallace on the Wire was an argument that he could make you feel a life in its full fragile complexity. Oscar Grant at Fruitvale Station was an argument that he could carry the weight of real human tragedy without flinching. Adonis Creed was an argument that he could be the center of a beloved American franchise and make it better than it had ever been. Erik Killmonger was an argument that a black actor could play the most compelling character in the biggest film of the decade, and Creed III, directing himself, controlling the entire vision, was the final argument that he was never just an actor waiting to be cast. He was always a filmmaker waiting for the industry to get out of his way. The wall did not break him. He walked through it, and on the other side, he held the door open for everyone coming behind him. That is the Michael B. Jordan story, and it is nowhere near finished.